Let's talk about this movie, My Son Hunter. Now, I saw the preview for this, and I might just download this. It's supposed to be available for download streaming September 7th. And I have an article here at Breitbart by way of the Daily Mail. This is by Rebecca Mansour, last name Mansour. Title of the article, Daily Mail, My Son Hunter, a hit at Hollywood screening, but it's not your mother's conservative movie. And I wanted to talk about this because the question is, can you create a film like My Son Hunter and reach a wide audience? Can you create a great piece of art that tackles a salacious topic? That's a word they use here in the article, salacious. But if you go back to the movies of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, we see those movies today as conservative. But at the time, they were shocking. All About Eve. What about Rebel Without a Cause? All About Eve was about the casting couch, the backbiting in Hollywood. We'll speed that up to now, and we have Harvey Weinstein. Rebel Without a Cause talked about teenage angst, even touched on homosexuality. That scene with James Dean and Sal Mineo, where Sal Mineo, his character, asks if he can spend the night and they can have breakfast in the morning. So this is by Rebecca Mansour, last name Mansour. This came out today. The upcoming film, My Son Hunter, was a hit with the audience at a private screening in Los Angeles this week, according to the UK Daily Mail. A crowd of Hollywood conservatives, producers, and influencers gave the film a rousing standing ovation, with one audience member telling the Daily Mail that the movie is, quote, not your mother's conservative movie. And I really think that the conservatives of today are the Democrats of the 1960s. Or let's say the Connor family from Roseanne in the 80s and the 90s. And in fact, when Roseanne had its reboot, The Connors, it had its highest rating amongst conservatives. Its highest viewership was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, if that tells you anything. So this movie is not about family values unless you're talking about the Biden family. And they have something you can click on at YouTube here. Watch the preview. My Son Hunter, which marks Breitbart's expansion into film distribution, was a crowdfunded project inspired by the investigative reporting of Government Accountability Institute President Peter Schweizer and Breitbart news about the Biden family's corruption, as well as the infamous laptop from hell story, first broken by the New York Post, the media and big tech sought to censor during the 2020 election. And you know me, I'm anti-censorship. Director Robert Davey described My Son Hunter as a Hunter's laptop exploded onto film. The movie follows Hunter, played by Lawrence Fox, as he navigates a tangled web of prostitution, partying, international business dealings, drugs, sex, Chinese spies, a laptop from hell, Ukrainian oligarchs, more sex, more drugs, and of course, his responsibilities to the leader of the free world, the film's press release states. Well, sounds like a typical day in D.C., if you ask me. None of this makes for your typical conservative movie, and that fact isn't lost on Breitbart editor-in-chief Alex Marlow, who describes My Son Hunter as a wildly entertaining film that looks unlike anything that's come out of the conservative movement. The film, which is available for pre-order now and will be available for download and streaming starting September 7th, carries the following warning label on its website, mysonhunter.com. Now, before I get to this warning, I really think we can create movies or a piece of music, piece of art, that can reach a broad audience, that doesn't necessarily have to be conservative. I was watching one of those Perry Mason TV movies, The Maligned Mobster, a really good episode of Perry Mason. So it is possible to create great art, great music, these films that can reach everybody. And you can look back at that film decades later and say, that was a great film. Or that was a really good piece of music that that person wrote, let's say back in the 1800s or the 1900s. Ever hear of Anton Reicha? Anton Reicha was putting these, what they called odd modulations and different rhythms in his music that was completely foreign to people like Beethoven at the time. But here's what the warning says about this movie. Contains sex, prostitution, drugs, cronyism, money laundering, more sex, a laptop from hell, Chinese spies, Ukrainian businessmen, the CCP, the selling out of America, the big guy, corn pop, more sex, additional drugs, and ... family. A typical day in DC. They got some of these freeze frame shots from the movie. While this subject matter may seem salacious, it is drawn directly from the public record. My Son Hunter's screenwriter Brian Goodwa told the Daily Mail. I drew dialogue from actual events or documents, transcripts, or emails reported in the media as the base language of Hunter and Joe Biden's characters. Many of them actual quoted lines, and many of them were taken from Hunter's actual emails from his laptop. I drew from Hunter's eulogy for his brother Beau for his own description of his relationship in the movie. Investigative author Peter Schweizer attested to the film's authenticity. Schweizer, who is a Breitbart senior contributor and the best-selling author of Red-Handed, How American Elites Get Rich Helping China Win, was the first to report on Hunter Biden's corrupt business dealings with foreign governments at a time when his vice president father was negotiating U.S. foreign policy with those regimes. This was all happening during the Obama administration. Of course, now Biden's administration is Obama 2.0, except Biden doesn't know where he is half the time. And he still believes that We the People is 2 documents. During a panel discussion about the film on Truth Social, Schweizer called My Son Hunter a shorthand version of his 300-page best-selling book chronicling the Biden family corruption. Quote, I think what people are going to get in this film is information lifted from the pages of my book and turned into the flesh, Schweizer said. And of course, they've got a photo here of John James as Joe Biden, Lawrence Fox as Hunter Biden. They're waving at you. Vote for me. I'm working for you. And they've got another picture of the real-life Joe Biden and Hunter Biden with their arms crossed. They're working for you. In fact, Schweizer said that the truth about Hunter Biden's corruption seems almost too outrageous for fiction. And sometimes life is stranger than fiction. Quote, it's such an unbelievable story in a way, Schweizer said. I mean, imagine if you were a screenwriter and you went to producers in LA and you said, hey, I've got this idea for a film that's going to be about the vice president's son. He's going to take tens of millions of dollars from the Chinese. He's going to be a coke addict. And then he's going to leave his laptop computer at a repair store. And that's the thing that's going to be made public, but the mainstream media is going to try to cover it up. I mean, the producers would just laugh at you and send you out of the room, yet that's exactly what happened. As the Secret Service agent character played by Gina Carano states in the film's opening line, this is not a true story except for all the facts. It's these facts that have already had left-wing pundits triggered by the film and conservatives heralding it. Well, maybe it's time that we have some type of meeting ground and say, hey, this is just a good movie. It tells a really good story. And maybe those of you on the left need to say, okay, you know what? Maybe Hunter Biden is an angel here. I'm not saying conservatives are necessarily angels, or these Republicans in D.C. But when you have something this damning, shouldn't we be talking about it? Especially when this is happening on our dime? I think so. A columnist at the left-wing UK Guardian also denounced My Son Hunter as, quote, a political or as political porn akin to conspiracy theories, despite not actually having seen the film yet. Well, this person needs to watch the movie. Donald Trump Jr., on the other hand, praised the film and hoped for its success. Quote, I want it to be successful because I want people to understand just how important this is, Trump said during the Truth Social panel discussion. We're fighting for our values, we're fighting for our country, and we're just fighting for the future that we want to leave our children. My Son Hunter stars Lawrence Fox, Victoria Inspector Lewis, the professor and Mad Men as Hunter Biden, Gina Carano, the Mandolin, Deadpool, Heist, so they're listing the movies that these actors were in, as a Secret Service agent, and John James, Dynasty, as Joe Biden. The film's trailer has already garnered over 4.5 million cross-platform views on social media. And My Son Hunter is available for pre-order now and will be available for download and streaming starting September 7th, as I mentioned earlier in the article. So go check this out at Breitbart by the way of Daily Mail. My Son Hunter, not your typical mother's conservative movie. But hopefully this movie will be a game changer. And I thought I'd share this with you to prove a point that you can create great art, great music, and tackle these tough or salacious topics and do it in such a way that reaches a broad audience. So if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. You can find me at Twitter. Follow me at Twitter. Find me at Instagram. At Instagram, it's hashtag Jason Composes. Twitter, Cultural Confederacy at Twitter. This is the Cultural Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this great country. And I'll catch you next time.